Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for March 19th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. One of my favorite days of the year, the first full day of March Madness. Yeah, the play-ins and the first four and all that, but this, to me, is the start of the tournament, a sure sign that spring and warmer weather is coming. Let's get into it. And starting, our first team has already fallen. Lehigh lost to Prairie View A&M yesterday, 67-55, a game they led at the half. Unfortunately, the Mountain Hawks could not get it done, but congrats on a great season by Lehigh winning the Patriot League. But there was no date and matchup with, I believe it would have been Arizona or Florida, but either way, good season by Lehigh. But we do have the Penn Quakers playing tonight, 9:25 versus Illinois. I just don't know. I feel like some magic could be happening. We've been talking a lot this month about the Penn Quakers, the St. Joe's Hawks, and some of those magical runs. Could the Quakers pull off the upset? I don't know. But good luck to the Quakers tonight. Showing my support here with the Penn shirt on. Flyers got a win out in Anaheim last night, beating the Ducks 3-2 in overtime. They got up 2-0. The Ducks battled back, but the Flyers win it in overtime when Noah Cates hits the game winner. Dan Vladar was great in goal once again for the Flyers, who find themselves 6 points back of that final wildcard spot. With 15 games left, they have a game in hand on the two teams that are currently in the wildcard run. And don't look now, your Flyers have won 7 of their last 10. They're in LA tonight to take on the Kings. Can they make it 8 of 11 and inch even closer to that wild card spot? I don't know. Might be time to get, maybe it's because it's March Madness. Tomorrow's the first day of spring, but maybe I'm getting a little flyered up here. I don't know. Unfortunately, because we're contractually obligated to talk about them, Sixers are in action tonight in Sacramento. Joel will miss his 11th straight game. And to make matters even worse for the Sixers, they're currently in the 9th position. They're 8.5 games up on the 11th, which would get them into the lottery with 13 games left to play. So essentially, Sixers, unless they lose 15 in a row, which I guess is possible, they will be in the play-in tournament at minimum. Now, I guess if they don't make it into the 7th or the 8th seed, I do think they're still eligible for the lottery. So there is hope. There is hope. No, there's not. There's no hope. Anyway, some Eagles news. Howie was busy traded a 7th round pick next year for Andy Dalton. I guess the writing kind of is on the wall. I think Dalton's scheduled to make $4 million. It's a lot of money for your 3rd string quarterback. I don't know if Andy has any experience maybe running some of the offensive designs they want to go. But it does certainly seem that Tanner McKee likely will be traded probably sometime during the draft, maybe later this summer, maybe in training camp when somebody gets hurt. But it kind of, that was my first reaction, is somehow, some way, Tanner McKee is going to be traded, which also, I think, opens up the possibility that there will be a quarterback drafted at some point during the draft. I don't know how high they're going to do because they still have a lot of needs, but likely means a quarterback is going to be drafted as well. And then Jonathan Jones, this was a cool story, new defensive back. had his introductory press conference yesterday and revealed that he is a licensed pilot and actually flew himself into Philly for the press conference and the signing, which I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. So we'll see. But yeah, something tells me that this somehow signifies that Tanner McKee will be traded at some point. I don't know what you're going to get. Maybe a conditional fourth, possibly a third if a team is desperate enough. But hey, Howie doing Howie things. And then Kyle and I will be back at some point next week with a new Brotherly Birds breakdown. Just need to coordinate the schedule for that. So stay tuned for that. We'll break down the first wave here of free agency and start looking ahead to the draft in April. Phillies are less than a week away from their home opener against the Rangers. Andrew Painter continues to look good. Another solid outing, 4 scoreless innings, hit almost 97 on the radar gun. I still think, and I've said it, I'm excited going in with lower expectations. We'll do some Phillies preview stuff next week. But I'm going in with lowered expectations to see what these kids can do. But one thing's for sure, it looks like the Phillies pitching staff is going to be one of the best. And we saw this so many times with the end of the Ruben Amaro era. The more pitching you have, especially starters and a solid bullpen, but mainly the starters, you're going to be in games. So it could be an exciting summer. Like I said, we'll get into expectations and previews and everything next week, though. The Union get knocked out of the CONCACAF Champions Cup tournament. They had a 1-1 draw last night against Club America, but due to the aggregate goals, it was not enough to advance. They can now focus solely on their MLS schedule, which picks back up Saturday at Subaru Park against Chicago. All right. Yesterday's trivia question. We talked about Flyers who have scored 100 points in a season. That would be Mark Recchi, Bobby Clark, Eric Lindros, Bill Barber, who we talked about yesterday, Claude Giroux, and Rick McLeish. Thank you to everybody who reached out and participated yesterday. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms at Philly Jimbo. Leave comments too. Interact. I try to respond to all the comments as best as I can, even the negative ones. And I guess it comes with the territory. There's been way more negative ones recently, but I think that's a testament to the current mood of Philly sports right now. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. Quick note from yesterday, we were talking about Wilt having his jersey retired by 3 different teams. Also, the Harlem Globetrotters. His jersey is actually retired by the Kansas Jayhawks. I did look it up. Kansas does not retire numbers, only jerseys, so multiple players can wear the same numbers. However, Wilt is honored with his jersey hung up. So just tells you how great of a player he was wherever he went. And huge shout out to the Upper Dublin 3rd grade girls travel basketball team who won their championship against Lenape Valley yesterday. What a game. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do as my kids get older and the stakes get bigger and the games get closer and tougher. Because I was keeping the book and I was just on the edge of my seat. It was intense. The refs certainly did not do them any favors. You know how I feel about that. But I was very proud of the way my daughter and her teammates were resilient, overcame, and I always say, if the refs are calling bad, you just got to play that much better. And so despite the fact it was a home game for them, the Lenape Valley crowd was raucous. The Upper Dublin crowd was raucous. And yeah, there was technicals and everything, but the girls were resilient. So congrats to the 3rd grade girls and Coach Tom McGuire for winning the championship last night. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do when they get older and the stakes get higher. This is like our first, although my son played in soccer playoffs and won the championship last year, and that was pretty intense too. But man, oh man, buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy couple of years here for us in the Montgomery household. This Day in Philly Sports History is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. All right, March 19th. First, we're going to go back to 1955. And on this day in 1955, the defending champion LaSalle Explorers, led by Player of the Year and All-American Tom Gola, played Bill Russell and the San Francisco Dons for the national championship. Bill was just too much for the Explorers that day. He had 23 points, 25 rebounds. Also on that San Francisco team was Casey Jones, who had 24 and 12. The combo of Bill Russell and Casey Jones was too much as San Francisco wins it 77-63. Tom Gola, for his credit, had 16 points, 18 rebounds. But the Russell-Jones combo, they would be pretty damn good. They would win the championship again the following year. And then when they got to the NBA with the Celtics, would win 8 straight NBA titles. But LaSalle loses in the championship 1 year after winning it, 77-63 to San Francisco. I guess there's no shame in losing to Bill Russell. But LaSalle did win it the year before. Fast forward to 1967, the Sixers close out the regular season with a 132-129 win over the Baltimore Bullets. Wilt Chamberlain with 37 points, 30 rebounds, as the Sixers won their NBA record 68th game, a mark that would stand a few more years until the 71-72 Lakers beat it with 69 wins. Ironically enough, that 71-72 Lakers team was led by one Wilt Chamberlain. So Wilt set the record for wins in a season and then broke his own record. The Sixers did go 68-13 that year, and 5 of those losses came to the Celtics. So they were pretty dominant across the entire season. Played the Celtics a lot, 13 times, but I don't even know if it was 13 times. They had 13 losses. 5 of the 13 losses, though, were to the Celtics. Fast forward to 1981. Flyers beat the Bruins 5-3 at the Spectrum. Tim Kerr, with his first career hat trick, added an assist, but Bobby Clark scored a goal for his 1,000th career point. We talked about Recchi getting 1,000 points the other day. Bobby Clark, first guy in Flyers history to do that. And then we go to 1997. More Flyers, more Legion of Doom domination. Flyers beat the Maple Leafs 6-3 on this day in 1997 up in Toronto. Eric Lindros, 4 goals, 2 assists, his first career 4-goal game. Mikkel Renberg, 2 goals, 2 assists. John LeClair, 3 assists. And man, how good was the Legion of Doom until Scotty Bowman just figured out a way to neutralize them. But Eric Lindros with his first 4-goal game in the Flyers 6-3 win over the Maple Leafs on this day in 97. And then fast forward to 2000, one of my worst days as a Philly sports fan. The number 2 seed, Temple Owls, lose to Seton Hall 67-65 in overtime up in Buffalo. So many of us were in attendance for that game. We were feeling good. Shaheen Holloway hurt his ankle. He was their starting guard. Enter Ty Effin Shine. That will be his name until the end of eternity. Comes off the bench, replacing Holloway with 26 points, 7 for 11 on 3-point shooting, including the game winner in overtime. Mark Karcher tried his best to will the Owls to the win. He had 27. But that Temple team, man, what could have been? They went 27-6. They were ranked as high as number 5. They beat 3 ranked teams throughout the season, including number 1 Cincinnati in Cincinnati, which we talked about a few weeks ago. But for me, will always be up there with the NFC Championship game loss to Tampa Bay as one of the worst losses, because I think for us, we expected the Owls were like a popular pick to go to the Final Four that year. One of the more solid teams in John Chaney's history. And we were like, okay, we're that team right now. We're having a tough first round matchup, but got it to overtime. We're like, all right, we're going to pull away in overtime. And then we were already making plans to go to Syracuse the next week. But Ty Shine had other plans, and it just was felt bad for the people at Temple who ran the trip, because they had it all set up. We were supposed to, after the game, go to Niagara Falls to celebrate before our flight left, and nobody wanted any parts of Niagara Falls. Everybody wanted to get on the plane, but just a tough loss. Ty Effin comes off the bench, beats Temple, the 2 seed, 67-65 in overtime. I think it was the HSBC Bank Arena in Buffalo at the time. And to make matters worse, they did not sell alcohol during NCAA games. So, yep. All right, that does lead us into today's trivia question. That team, though, was great. Won the Atlantic 10 tournament. John Chaney was A10 Coach of the Year. A lot of great players on that team. Mark Karcher, Pepe Sanchez, Lynn Greer, Quincy Wadley, Lamont Barnes, Kevin Lyde, Ron Rollerson. I love that. I can go through the entire roster, even down to Mamadou, the last guy off the bench. But which player on that team was the A10 player of the year? So many good players. You had Karcher, Wadley, you had Pepe. But which one of those players was the Atlantic 10 player of the year in 2000? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off of your chest, or hit the Discord channel, which the link is in the description. And while you're there, click on the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame fan vote opportunity. The ballot is out. I put the link to their bios and all that other good stuff in there. But if your ballot is closest to the actual induction class, you can win 2 free VIP tickets to the ceremony in November. So be sure to check it out, have a little bit of fun, and just see some of the great athletes that are up for induction this year. All right, it is Thursday. Time for a little Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com for all your Philly sports apparel needs. They got you covered. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. I've been showing you the Blue Jays shirt. They're always coming out with stuff. So go check out phillygoat.com. All right. So continuing with our March Madness theme. We've been talking about it, but let's kind of take a deeper dive into that 1980-81 St. Joe's Hawks team. They finished the season with a 25-8 record, good enough for a number 9 seed in the tournament. Upset number 1 DePaul, probably the biggest upset in Big Five history. I can't think of many more that are bigger than that. They were coached by a Philly legend, Jim Lynam, who started in high school, college, went to go on and coach the Sixers. Obviously, he's on Sixers post-game and pre-game live now. So legendary coach Jim Lynam. They made it all the way to the Elite Eight, beating Creighton, DePaul, Boston College, but ultimately ended up losing in the Elite Eight to Indiana, who would actually become the national champions that year, coached by Bobby Knight, led by Isaiah Thomas. But that 80-81 St. Joe's Hawks team, one of the more underrated and fun teams in Big Five history. Upset number 1, made it all the way to the Elite Eight. And again, I guess there's no shame in bowing out to the eventual national champions, Hall of Famer, coach, Hall of Fame player, and Isaiah Thomas. So that is Throwback Thursday. Little March Madness action here on the first day of the tournament. Brought to you, as always, by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. And then finally, our Women's History Month Spotlight. Every journey starts somewhere. For these women, it started in Philly, whether it was on the playgrounds, the rec centers, high school gyms, college gyms, and it all led to the WNBA. And today we take a look at Demiah Walker, a Mount Holly, New Jersey native, went to Rancocas Valley High School in Jersey. She graduated as their career leader in rebounds per game, rebounds in a game, points in a season, and a career. She was just a dominant player. She was an All-American in high school, which led her to the University of Virginia, where at Virginia she graduated their all-time leader in field goal percentage and block shots. She was 2-time All-ACC, was not drafted into the WNBA because 99 was the first year of the WNBA. So you had a lot of players coming from, including Dawn Staley from the ABL, and just wasn't enough space on the roster for her despite a great college career. However, she took it in stride, went overseas, honed her skills, and eventually came back and signed as a free agent. She went bouncing around from Portland, ended up in Sacramento, where she became an all-star and an WNBA champion in 2005. She's the definition of consistency, and I talked about Ella's third grade girls team showing resilient. I think Demiah Walker is the epitome of resilience. Was like, okay, I'm just going to go, get better, come back, and she became an all-star and a champion. So from Philly, in this case, South Jersey, specifically Mount Holly, to the University of Virginia, to overseas, back to the WNBA, we celebrate the journey. And today, Demiah Walker, we celebrate you, one of the best to ever come out of South Jersey, and became a WNBA champion. On this day in 2000, Ty Effenshine beats Temple, comes off the bench, 7 for 11 on three-pointers, 67-65. The Owls' dream of a Final Four dashed up in Buffalo that day. Eric Lindros has 4 goals in a game on this day in 1997 as the Flyers beat the Maple Leafs 6-3. In 1981, Bobby Clark scores his 1,000th career point. Tim Kerr has his first career hat trick as the Flyers beat the Bruins 5-3 at the Spectrum. Sixers close out with their 68th win on this day in 1967, setting the NBA record, but there would be no repeat for the Sixers that year. And in 1955, the LaSalle Explorers lose to Bill Russell and the San Francisco Dons in the national championship game. We'll have everything you need to know about Penn. We'll update you on the Sixers and the Flyers tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Friday's with AI. We have another local team playing tomorrow as the Villanova Wildcats kick off their March Madness run against Utah State tomorrow afternoon. Get excited. But good luck to TJ Power and the Penn Quakers today. Good old Fran McCaffrey. Listen, he used to coach in the Big Ten. He knows Iowa's style, so I think that's an underrated advantage if you're betting on this game, or if you still haven't picked out your bracket. I do have Penn upsetting Illinois today, so could be. I don't have them going any further, but could be one of those. I'm in a pool where you get points for if the lower seed wins, you get bonus points. So 14 over 3, that would go a long way in setting me up. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for March 19th, 2026. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. Let the madness begin. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.